what? We have another edition of TY's TV Corner coming at you today. It was a little toss-up between, we were thinking about doing Mandalorian, and we were also thinking about doing His Dark Materials. The reason we can't do both is because we're already spread a little thin for time. So, one TV Corner per week, one Quick Dip, and one Black Label, and then one podcast episode. So that's 4 shows per week, and we think that's enough, at least for now, until we can quit our jobs and do this full time. So we can only do that with your help and some subscriptions. So as soon as we get to 1 million subscriptions, Big Drip and I will both quit our jobs. So please help us get there, because you wouldn't even have to ask me twice to quit my job. So we have made the decision, and it's going to be His Dark Materials. The reason we are doing this is because the market is very saturated with Mandalorian reviews. So we figure if we go this direction and we do His Dark Materials, we'll have something more original than, just another Mandalorian review. I'm excited to do this. I love this show. If you're into sci-fi, and if you're into, like the Harry Potter style shows, I know Harry Potter's a movie, but if you're into those kind of novels, those shows that are really detailed and magical and beyond reality, then His Dark Materials is definitely for you, and you should already be watching it. So basically what I'm doing today is I am going to give a mild spoiler season 1 recap. There won't be heavy plot points in it. However, it'll be a general summary of what season 1 includes and is about. And then, a little next week I will break down episode 2 and 3 together. And then we'll be caught up, and we'll be, back into the swing of things. Let's get right into it, guys, because, I don't want to waste too much time. I definitely want to say that I do miss Supernatural. It's so easy to do those reviews because, it's such a passion for me to do something like, Supernatural reviews. It's so near and dear to my heart. But who knows? This show is high up there. It's not Game of Thrones. It's not, crazy plot twists and everything like that. But there are a lot of them, and there's a lot of depth and a lot of detail and a lot of beauty to the show. So if you haven't watched it already, or you've been thinking about watching it, watch this with me today. Get into it. Season 2 just started back up on HBO. So they're on episode 3 will be next Monday. They've done episode 1 and 2 so far, and they've been fantastic. The show has definitely found its groove. So we'll start off with a couple things. If you're new to the channel, like and subscribe. If you're returning, we thank you so much. You're the reason that, we're doing so well, and we're progressing so far. Right now, this month we're raising money for suicide prevention. So please get involved. All the descriptions will be below. His Dark Materials is based on the novels by Phillip Pullman. And there was also a 2007 movie called The Golden Compass. That is also that was an adaptation, a movie that was made to adapt the novels as well. For its time, the visuals and stuff were all there. It was gorgeous. However, it just lacked soul, and no pun intended, but it did lack some soul. It didn't have its dust, if you will. So This new HBO adaptation, you can tell that it's a lot more serious and grounded and mixed with some sci-fi plots and beautiful visuals. So the cast list grows increasingly talented. Is with each name. Daphne Keene plays Lyra. She's the main character. She's a young girl who is an orphan, and she grows up in Oxford at a college, Jordan College. So she grows up there. Um, Ruth Wilson plays Miss Coulter, who you'll find out who she actually is. But she's an explorer and she's a she she is something else. She is truly, truly, truly special in this show. She delivers quite the performance. Hater, love it or hate her in the show. She definitely gets under your skin and hits the right buttons. Amir Wilson plays Will Parry, and for those of you who have read the books, there are two in a row. The first one is focused on like the alethiometer and the golden compass, and the second one then picks up Will Parry's story. What they did for the show was they mixed it a little bit, and they took elements from the second book and combined it with the first, and it makes for a very interesting, plot device. So Amir Wilson plays Will Parry. Ariane Bakare plays Lord Boreal. Will Keane plays Father MacPhail. And, of course, James McAvoy plays Lord Asriel. James McAvoy isn't in it a lot, but just enough. He's not so he is a main character, I would say, but he's not a lead. He's not constantly in the show. It's more Daphne Keene and Ruth Wilson. And you'll find out the dynamic between the three of them. However, James McAvoy, you can tell that, he'll do a certain amount of hours for the show, and then get out. He plays a pivotal role in the show. However, it's sprinkled throughout the seasons. So let's get right into the season, the breakdown, and let's talk about it. So the BBC and HBO co-production of His Dark Materials got off to a strong start in the fall, with an opening hour that set an epic tone and impressive, very, 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 very epic tone and impressive visual standard for what was to follow. But the overall, lackluster and bare 2007 adaptation had those things as well. They had it going for them, and the real battle that the new HBO original faces is whether the writers and directors would finally bring the story to life with the same sense of danger, maturity, and grandeur provided by Philip Pullman's novels. In that respect, with some storytelling fumbles and a question on if this story can thrive on a TV budget, the first season is largely successful. I loved it. I thought it was done beautifully. I didn't notice some of the plot, some of the things that people pointed out. I didn't notice until, they did point them out, and I went back and looked. But they're things that serve the story, and you kind of have to suspend some belief for them. So the show does a remarkable job in keeping, the number of arcs and stories moving forward, at the same time. Lyra's main motivation of rescuing her best friend Roger, from the cages of the Magisterium, Miss Coulter's hunt to apprehend Lyra, Lord Asriel, his experiments, and so much more. The show smartly chooses how and when to highlight these multiple stories, and by the end, they kind of weave and weave and wind them all together in a web that we're only just starting to understand by the season 1 finale. His Dark Material hits the ground running by building a rich, textured fantasy world in a relatively short amount of time. There's not 20 episodes, there's not 13 episodes. So you have this short amount of time and you have a lot to fill in for the viewer. Lyra's alternate reality of demons, dust, aeronauts, armored bears, and alethiometers never comes at you too quick. And some of the mysteries still surrounding the more kind of out there, if you will, like the more out there subject lines or the more out there topics, they end up making the series all that more addictive. His Dark Materials runs at its own unique pace, and it's not afraid to show its hand. What makes Lyra's fantasy world especially work well is, the inspired choice to pull forward story elements from the series' second novel. Like I had said earlier, The Subtle Knife is the second book. His Dark Materials makes no secret of the fact that the other worlds exist in the same space at the same time. And that means that our world that we live in right now, is one of those worlds that are showcased in the show. So there's, from what we've seen so far, there is Will Perry's world, which is our world. And then there's Lyra's world, which is a world. So what demons are, they're incarnations of one's soul, it seems. Everyone has one in Lyra's world, and it's a creature, an animal, reptile. Like it doesn't matter. I guess it represents more of you. When you're younger, it's constantly changing. And then once you hit puberty, it settles on your spirit animal, if you will. So everyone has a different one. A lot of the Magisterium, and the Magisterium it's like a church. But picture if the Catholic Church ran the entire world. It's not hard to believe. It happened a long time ago in it, and that's how this world was for a long time. But they have an army, soldiers, all the police forces and the authority come from the Magisterium. So the Magisterium is kind of like the Ministry of Magic in Harry Potter. And that's where I make certain comparisons throughout this. So picture the Ministry of Magic in Harry Potter, and that's kind of what the Magisterium is. However, they want no one to believe that there's alternate worlds. They don't want anyone to believe in dust. They don't want anyone to believe in anything other than what they tell them to. So, obviously, the book has always been ridiculed by some people for slapping the churches in the face. Like people that are really religious don't really like these books because of their portrayal of the Magisterium. So it makes for interesting television. I'll give you that much. That totalitarian. All right, we know that I can't say that word. Totalitarian kind of vibe you get from like the Hunger Games, Maze Runner, all those kind of media, totalitarian authoritative figures. So his Dark Materials makes no secret of the fact that the other worlds exist, like I said. That means our real world, tragically devoid of demons as it is also connected to Lyra's. That brings us to Will Perry, the series' second protagonist. And, he's not introduced until The Subtle Knife, like I said earlier. However, he has a huge presence throughout season 1 of his Dark Materials. So a move that will play dividends later in terms of storytelling. Will struggle to maintain a home life with a mentally ill mother. Ends up grounding the story through its many discussions of souls and prophecies and witches but in a way that adds, perspective to the bigger conflicts, if you will. Of course, Lord Burial's ability to walk between Lyra and Will's worlds serves as the audience's perspective. So Lord Boreal, it seems like he's been sent on a mission. He has access to kind of travel between the two dimensions or the two worlds that we know of. And he's constantly monitoring what's going on in Will's world versus what's going on back at home. He is a magisterium official. However, we don't really know his true motivations yet. He is a very complex character, and I do not think that what we get on the surface is what he is actually all about. So more on him as we move forward. Season 2, episode 3 seems like it's going to, dive in a little bit to his character. So we should see more of that going forward. So remember to join us after you have caught up. Sorry, let me get a drink. So far, so good though, guys. This show I do want to bring up one thing. If you like visual cinematography, this show is absolutely stunning. Some of the things they do are just crazy. The way they depict the North, like the polar caps, and the Aurora Borealis are just truly like this technicolor dreamscape of, one could only hope to exist in. Absolutely fantastic. So Lord Boreal is kind of obsessed with Will's missing father, John. And that suggests that Will may have a part to play in the show's overarching prophecy. Himself. With a few of the key players all seemingly through the looking glass by the end of the season, in the finale, how the events in each of these worlds relate to each other is one of the more exciting mysteries of the show. And it's left to unravel as the show moves forward. Season 1 of His Dark Materials is certainly aimed at a more general audience than maybe Game of Thrones or some of the other miniseries that HBO has, but some of the other recently concluded sci-fi fantasy epics. But it never flinches in its bleaker moments. I'll give it that much. This show, where children are not safe from the soul-destroying kidnappers called gobblers, where a person can be killed by crushing their adorable little animal avatar in the palm of your hand. Where a religious government can claim any violation of human decency in the service of an almighty authority. Like the books, this show's may feature kids as lead characters, but that doesn't make the worlds that they live in or moving throughout any less dangerous. Daphne King does an excellent job of rolling with the emotional ups and downs of her character's journey, channeling both her good humor and her fury. They're equally compelling measures that she's able to tap into. Amir Wilson's Will Perry is far more understated, kind of a kid just trying to do the right thing and keep his family together, but thrust into this world, without wanting it. So he's just a teenager. He's just a high school kid who kind of gets dropped right into all this stuff. Given that Lyra and Will's paths are destined to cross, their opposing personalities, they could provide some material for some great interplay between the two characters, between Keane and Wilson going forward. The adult cast are fantastic foils for their younger counterparts. Ruth Wilson has she has the biggest bill to feed. Her intensity has kept Miss Coulter feeling, I don't know, like the most fearsome woman in any world there is. She's truly, truly terrifying. And she has this little monkey, that her demon is a monkey. And the way demons work are, you just like your soul, right? You could not be without it. Or you couldn't be without it for such a big distance. She's repeatedly in separate rooms, hallways, buildings, and her demon, which by the laws of his Dark Materials should not be able to happen. And you find out what's going on with that. Trust me. And it's truly, truly fascinating. We're still unraveling it come season 2. The hypocrisy of how Coulter treats children versus her own children, it's really cause for, this disgust, if you will. Lyra is disgusted by Miss Coulter because of her hypocrisy, and it's a very, very, very beautiful dynamic because they go from being, Miss Coulter goes from being Lyra's savior to her biggest threat in any world. James McAvoy is clearly having a blast playing Lord Asriel's righteous wrath entitlement. We accept his radical motivations in part of how committed McAvoy is to making them feel real. His little motivations all add up, and you can feel it bursting from him. It's quite amazing, for his portrayal. Lin-Manuel Miranda's Lee Swarsby provides some great comic relief. In these shows, I think you need to have a smart-ass Texan Han Solo who genuinely respects Lyra's spunk and cares for her safety. His Dark Materials first season has quite the impressive design, visual effects, and score. From the scholarly hue of Jordan College to the Technicolor landscape of the North, every place Lyra travels to feels alive in some sort of way. Given the already grand world of his Dark Materials, a grounded yet imaginary feel with every group of characters gets its voice. Lord Bal's orchestrations give the already grand world of his Dark Materials that much more of icing on the cake. This world feels imaginary. It feels real, and it's like the best of both worlds. Our friend Lorik Byronson, who is an armored bear. Yeah, that's right. This show doesn't have dragons. It has armored talking bears, and they're amazing. And you'll get to see more of that. Wait a second. Why couldn't Lyra's demon just turn into a lion and eat Miss Coulter's gross little monkey? Huh. I guess the waters are just murky enough for the demon lore to not have us question anything. While many of Ms. Dark Material's successes come from how accurately it depicts Pullman's books, that devotion to the text does lead to some pacing issues. The show is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and the season's penultimate episode, The Fight to the Death, somewhat derails the train after an exciting battle at Bolvangar, and the seafaring Egyptians that help Lyra through much of the season don't really come into their own until episode 5. TY's TV score for season 1 is an 8.1 out of 10. His Dark Materials first season is a confident, exciting fantasy adventure filled with threats to its leads, which also echo through its multiple worlds. Even though there are times when the scope of the story slightly exceeds the budget, the BBC and HBO have done an impressive job giving Lyra and the rest of the cast the adventure and adaptation they deserve. With every show out there, I believe there are issues, right? No show I've ever watched is perfect. Except Supernatural. no show I've ever watched is perfect. So we can't expect this one to be as well. Their budget is clearly there, right? They have a lot of great visuals, great storytelling aspects, and the people that are bringing all this stuff to life do a great job. Some scenes, you'll wonder, like, oh, where's that person's demon? Well, they couldn't, afford to give every single human in every single shot a visual effects, creature at every second of the turn. So there's small things that, with time and with an ever-growing audience, they'll be able to fix. But with what we have now, you'd actually have to really dial it in and look for those kind of things. And I don't think they're worth getting angry about. All the greatest shows have things. Game of Thrones, the Starbucks coffee, had people in literally a fit. Guys, it's a TV show. Mistakes will be made, and it's all about how we capitalize. So overall, this show gets an 8.1. I hope you enjoyed the recap of Season 1. I wanted to get this done so that we can move forward and we can start doing Season 2, picking up next week. We'll start Episode 2 and 3. We'll recap them together. We'll do a review. And then by Episode 4, we'll be doing them every week, right after the show airs at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on HBO. Home box office entertainment. I love it. If you guys would like to, let me know what you think, please jump in the comments. You know how our reviews go here. They're very laid back. We just want to get all the information to you, and we want to have a good time doing it. If you see anything or you want to know anything more, leave a comment. But definitely like the video. Definitely ring that notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads. And let's get this ball rolling. This show is amazing. This show is great. And I definitely hope you start watching if you haven't already. If you are watching, let's buckle in because it's going to be a good season. And we'll be here every step of the way. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we are raising money for suicide prevention. The link is below. If you have an extra $1 or $2 or 50 or 100, and you can help, afford to donate, please help us reach our goal. And more importantly, let's help save a life. That's what this is all about. Can't wait. This Sunday, joining us is Darkseid himself, Mr. Ray Porter. We're going to be breaking down everything from how he prepared for the role, how he feels being the biggest villain in not just Justice League, but the DCEU as a whole, and so much more. So tune in. We have some great content coming up for you. If no one has told you today, I love you. Us at the Pop Culture Corner, we love you. We're always here to talk. Always keep fighting.